Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is a really exciting one because we're diving into a topic that I honestly think affects so many women, and especially women who feel like they are trying really hard to take care of themselves, but at the same time they feel exhausted, they feel inflamed, and they feel stuck in their body or disconnected from their health. And I think one of the reasons I was so excited for this conversation is because I see this pattern all the time. I see it in my audience, and I see the clients I work with, and in just daily conversations with women who are my friends, and especially women who are doing quote unquote everything right. They are eating healthy, they're working out, they're trying harder, and they're trying to be so disciplined, but their body still feels stressed, their metabolism feels stuck, and their energy day crashes, and their hormones feel dysregulated, and their nervous system feels exhausted. And instead of asking, what is my body trying to communicate? They often start blaming themselves. So today, we are really going to unpack the hidden physiology behind all of this, the relationship between stress, gut health, metabolism, hormones, nervous system regulation, also talk a lot about chronic dieting, and why so many women feel like their body is fighting them. And I could not think of a better guest for this conversation. So today I'm joined by Elizabeth Aylor, who is a gut and hormone health expert. She is a women's transformation coach and also the creator of the 90-day whole body transformation. And she has helped thousands of women heal chronic gut issues, reverse metabolic dysfunction, rebuild their hormones, and finally start working with their body instead of working against it. And what I personally really respect about your work, Elizabeth, is that it's not surface level wellness advice. Your approach is deeply rooted in physiology, in nervous system understanding, metabolism, hormones, and also the most important part, the root cause of it. And also what I found with your story that I found very powerful was that this work, it also came from lived experience, from your own experience with severe gut dysfunction, hormonal issues, overtraining, burnout, metabolic damage, and rebuilding your own health from the ground up. So in today's conversation, we're going to talk about that. And I just want to start by giving the word over to you, and I would love for you to talk about your own story because I think many people connect really deeply through lived experience.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible, but basically, I struggled my entire life with chronic health issues, and I didn't even know that it was all backed by my gut. When I was born, I had eczema, rosacea all over my face and body. Gut health was not a thing, so I was just put on tons of steroid creams, ointments, and it was just red rashes from head to toe, itchy all the time. When I was 13, I was in school and I bumped into a girl who always had lice. And it triggered something that really set everything off for me. I got chronic OCD. I wouldn't go back to school. I was counting everything. I was put on severe antidepressants. I was homeschooled for over a year. And during that time, I was eating my feelings away. I was living off of sugar, spray candy, and, those sour things and the cinnamon pretzels. And I gained over 50 pounds in 1 year. I don't even remember the full 7 years that I was on the antidepressants and doing the therapy and everything because I just felt numb in my body and I hated myself. So it was just like eat food, horrible relationship, didn't love myself. And I ended up getting to a place where I was able to go back to school. And my friend was vegetarian. So I said, you know what? She looks great. I want to lose the weight. I want to feel great again. So I'm going to do that. And I did not do it the healthy way. I
Mhm.
went to my first kickboxing class. I made it 5 minutes through it. And I was in the bathroom about to throw up because I was so out of shape. And this was at a very young age. So I went back home and I started doing Dance Dance Revolution over Christmas break and I went vegetarian, but more so special case cereal and 0-calorie waters, very low caloric, not really healthy foods because of what was in it. We all know now is artificial flavors, you name it. But I did
Yeah.
lose 25 pounds and my skin started looking better going vegetarian. I started feeling better, feeling more confident. And having that OCD as a background, I got to a place where I started playing around with my diet. I said, if vegetarian could make me feel good, what about vegan? Then what about raw vegan? And there was something called the 80-10-10 diet. It's basically living off of fruit, very little nuts and seeds, and large salads at night. So breakfast would look like 8 to 10 bananas, lunch, 5 large mangoes, dinner, the size of a big platter for a big group of people of a salad. So like a pound of greens, all raw. And that first few months, I felt good. I was feeling like my digestion was getting better. I love cooking. So it was like I was making fun raw vegan recipes. And when I got to college, I woke up one morning and I kid you not, I looked 6 months pregnant before
Well,
even drinking a cup of water. Yes, it was like 30
mm,
pounds of fluid in my stomach, chronic constipation, severe bloating, distension. My jogging pants would hurt. And
well,
over my college years, I went from a doctor to doctor, GI, gastrointestinal. They said, you're fine, you're normal. I lost my cycle for over 7 years. I went postmenopausal in my 20s. And I finally, after going to so many people not being able to help me with my gut issues and being dismissed, I found one person who did stool testing and figured out I had 15 types of parasites, H. pylori, SIBO, mast cell activation. And I didn't know a lot about the natural way of things. So, of course, I went antibiotic route. I did
mm,
multiple courses of triple therapy. I got in. I was in such a bad place. I was, in college, 6 months pregnant, trying to sprout my food and do this mono fruit island and working with all the top people and all the raw food, system, Dr. Douglas Graham, you name it, spending my spring breaks doing gallbladder cleanses and going to healing centers because my health was just so bad at that place. And I got to a place, it was the end of my college years, where I just couldn't do it anymore. I've done every kill protocol. The parasites kept coming back. My stomach was still severely constipated. I was living off of laxatives, still barely going. I had 150 colonics in a year with black coming out of myself. And I went to one last healing center that was supposed to have this special system to clean out your small intestine. And I was like, maybe it's mucoid plaque going on. And I went there. I couldn't even go using their system. They sent me to the hospital. They thought I had an intestinal blockage. My mom flew down and I was in the car crying to her saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And I made my own 90-day protocol because it takes 90 days to actually kill parasites, get to the eggs, and actually get the eggs so they don't rehatch and get to the biofilms and everything. Sorry to geek out. But we're
mhm.
going to geek
No, it's
out
very
today.
interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So I created my own protocol. I said, when I'm done with these 90 days, I'm done killing. I've been destroying my body with all these herbs, trying to kill everything, and everything just keeps getting worse. Within 90 days, I went from not pooping, distended, running a 5:05 marathon to six-pack abs, so much energy, 3:35 marathon, and just able to expand my diet, be in such an incredible place. In between all those times, I mean, I've was down to 3 foods, white rice, chicken, and arugula prior to going raw because I had the mast cell activation. There was a whole bunch of things going on in between. But after that time, I got myself off of raw vegan. I moved to LA to become a trainer. I got my CSCS. I went back to become a holistic nutritionist and I structured my whole diet to heal my body from the ground up. When COVID hit, everything started going backwards. I got in a relationship. My health went really bad with the stress and everything. I re-lost my cycle after getting it back naturally after 7 years. And they thought I had endometriosis. I had cysts on my ovaries and just everything got bad again. I moved back home to Miami and it just kept getting worse. I went from being healed, spending my whole life with chronic health issues, to back down to 3 foods: white rice, chicken, and arugula, having histamine reactions, eyes running, chronic anxiety for a happy person to where they put me on Xanax, and even I just started dropping weight like a fly. I went back to school and became an FDM practitioner. I figured out that I was actually living in chronic mold exposure. I had such severe mold toxicity. My thyroid was making reverse T3, which is a metabolite. So everything was crashing with my hormones, my metabolism, chronic anxiety, depression. I felt like I had rheumatoid arthritis through my entire body. And I, from there, took my health again into my own hands, and I completely healed my body back to where it is today. Was able to expand my diet from minimal foods, all this going through, MTHFR, and that kind of was the big late because I always used to coach women with more bodybuilding style, but this has allowed me to unlock such a specialty of mine, and I could heal people with any type of gut issue, hormone imbalance. I work with clients with MS, Lyme's disease, SIBO, mast cell activation, endometriosis, and it's just such a passion of mine to heal. And it's crazy because when you heal your body, that's when your body transforms and you're able to lose the weight and get your health back.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think many people can recognize themselves in this constant pull and push, and you try everything. And whenever we are in a more vulnerable state, when you go through something like that, and all that you want is that that state really disappears, right? And you try everything. And I think now also more than ever there's so many different advice around wellness, and there's so many different diet trends to hop on. And now we see these small reels where they share, try this drink and you will solve all of your problems, right? And we think that the more we see those things, if we constantly just feed our brain with that, that is what we're going to believe, that okay, if I take this supplement, I will lose all of the weight that I want to lose. Or if I take this green powder, my skin will clear up. But what I love in your work is also addressing the root cause. And I wonder, at what point do you think the body stop interpreting dieting as health and start interpreting it as stress? Because that is what happens when we are playing with intense diets.
Yeah, so I'm going to specifically relate it to a lot of women over 30 because once we get to a place where we're 30, hitting even 40s, 50s, and beyond, we're going through perimenopause. During that
Hmm.
time, all of our hormones are changing, as well as our body's changing. And then, unlike, in our teens and 20s, we have work life, family life, and our body now is completely changing. What you tried in the past is not working, so you're getting more stressed out. Now you're not sleeping good. Now you have stress of family. Now you're trying cutting your calories, adding tons of cardio. Now maybe you have thyroid issues from all the stress and demand that has added up, or gut dysfunction. So all of these are different stressors on the body. And when we try to push ourselves into a caloric deficit, if we're not sleeping, we're not having good bowel movements, we have thyroid issues, we have all these other things going on, your body takes that as a stressor and it holds on to fat versus letting go. That's why things like, if you look at like GLP-1s and everything, I know we may hit on peptides. If we're doing those when we're in our 30s and 40s, it works on your leptin and your ghrelin, which are your hunger and satiety cues. So you feel fuller, you feel more satiated, you're eating less food. But if you're not supporting muscle maintenance during this time, as well as the quality of your nutrition, what's going to happen is you're going to develop nutritional deficiencies, cravings and fatigue. All those cravings and stress eating and food patterns, we didn't address those. So you stop the Ozempic, it's going to come right back. Then on top of that, if we have gut issues, that GLP-1 slow down your gastric emptying, so it could actually cause more gut issues. So instead of addressing the root cause, we may be losing more muscle, slowing our metabolism, slowing down our gut, and then gaining. I have clients come to me and they're like, I've gained 30 plus pounds back. So all life stressors, I like to call it up, they add up over time And one big thing, taking a course of antibiotics, having a divorce or a crazy relationship or stress happen that's a big trauma in our life pushes us off that ledge. And then no type of diet is going to get us back. We have to work on the nervous system, the gut, and get your body to feel safe again versus the
I think it's really interesting what you're saying about GLP-1s and peptides, Ozempic. I think it's worth taking a moment to really talk about this topic. It is a sensitive topic, but I think and what I've seen around is just as I briefly spoke about earlier, this thing of we want to solve our issue as possible and as easy as possible. We want to have this little pill, magic pill, poof, and everything is gone, right? And I know many people are using Ozempic as a source of losing weight. And as you are saying, like it works in maybe the short run, but what is really important to have in mind is how will this affect me when I am 45 or even when I'm 60? I want to pick up my grandchild from the floor, but I don't have the bone density. I don't have the strength
the
enough to
muscle. Yeah.
the muscle. Yeah, like I can't actually pick up my grandchild from the ground because I don't have the muscle for doing that. And yeah, maybe I'm skinny because I've been taking Ozempic, but my body, is it functioning in the proper way? It should be functioning. And I think it is really important to be educated in this topic before implementing any kind of peptides, GLP-1s into your life. I think it's super, super important to just be educated and not blindly trust what worked for one person, because it doesn't mean that it will work for you. And why do you think that also playing around? Wait, I actually
Yeah.
remember from we spoke earlier before we were recording, you tried keto and carnivore, right? And that was negatively
Yes.
affecting your thyroid. Can we tap into that a little bit? Because I was also
Yes.
playing around with different diets back in the days. I did intermittent fasting for 2 years. And as you mentioned, when you did the vegan
Carnivore.
diet, like no, the
Oh,
vegan
yeah.
diet, like it worked for you, like
Yeah.
you gain more energy. And I was seeing very good results when I started intermittent fasting. It was super clear and I had a lot of energy in the mornings. I also broke my fast with this big protein blueberry smoothie that I saw somewhere because I followed a girl on YouTube who were a huge spokesperson for intermittent fasting, and she swore on this smoothie. I broke my fast with this, which is just a sugar spike, really. It felt good for a long, long time. And then after 2 years has passed, my hormones started to scream for help. I was also without my cycle for a time, and I broke up in hormonal acne. I think these different extreme diets, again, it can work for someone, but also for
Yeah.
women, it can work. It's like we are getting tricked. It worked from start, and then we start to see symptoms showing up. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think it feels really good in the beginning, but then it starts to really backfire?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways we can kind of go with this, but I feel like a lot of individuals, they go more from the standard American diet and then they jump to these extremes. They want fast fixes, just like jumping to a peptide. It's going to get me fast weight loss. So they want to get there in the fastest route possible, but do we need to go that extreme? So when it comes down to it, if you go to a standard American diet and you go to like a fruitarian diet or raw vegan or carnivore, you're eliminating a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, a lot of inflammatory seed oils, and all of that. You are going to feel a whole lot of better. 100%.
Yes.
But the thing is we have to look at also where are we in our life? As we get older, we may be more, insulin sensitivity. So we have to look also, insulin resistant. So we have to look at, we need the protein in there to balance the blood sugar. We have to look at if we're older as well, if we cut all the carbohydrates out of our diet, men are very different than females. Our hormones are completely different. If it works for a male, it may not work for you in perimenopause. And what we need to know too is carbohydrates work in conjunction with cortisol. So if we're not sleeping, our blood sugar spiking, we're waking up in the middle of the night, we have chronic low energy and cravings. Your carbs could be too low and they could be crashing you, but we have storage of our carbohydrates in our liver and our muscle and everything. So initially, once you run through those and maybe 6, 12 months into this diet, you start feeling really low. You're having more anxiety. You're not sleeping good, but we're on, low to no carbohydrates. That could be something working with the cortisol and working with our hormones. So, what I've learned is that number one, it's not about going from one extreme to the next with our diet because you're going to feel good in the beginning. But if we're missing specific food groups, if we're not fully breaking down our food, absorbing our nutrients, we're going to start feeling those nutrient deficiencies or those blood sugar spikes, like doing something like an all fruit diet or a vegan diet with not enough protein to stabilize blood sugar. And we're getting older and we need for muscle maintenance and all of that. So instead of looking at that way, I like to look at it for my clients and how can we eat for your metabolic type? Because that's where we need to look at. If we're not sleeping through the night, how can we structure our meals so that we're able to balance your blood sugar to help you lose weight? If we have gut issues going on, it's not about drinking tons of bone broth, greens powders, and fermented foods, because if someone has SIBO or histamine issues, that's going to make you more bloated, more reactive, and set you back. So instead of I was always focused on diet dogma. I am raw
Mm.
vegan. I am fruitarian. I am keto. I am carnivore. I have to stay under the structure. And I started eating toward my body and my metabolism. And that's what I do for my clients is I look at their day. I look at
Mm.
how busy their day is. If they're a mom, I look at do we have gut issues? Do we have hormone issues, thyroid issues? And I build their nutrition around that instead of saying, go do this diet and go follow that. And within weeks, just a few weeks, bloating is gone, energy is through the roof, cravings are away. So I think that's one big thing is we go too extreme too fast. We don't look at our hormones in the phase of life that we're at and match our nutrition protocol to actually our body, our hormones in our gut. And then we get too diet dogma on, I have to fall under this bracket, even if I don't feel great on it anymore. If I stop it, I'm going to fail and gain the weight back. And I think it's kind of like a blend of all of those together.
It's very interesting what you're saying with fermented food and bone broth, because I feel like I have always believed up until quite recently that if you're bloated or if you have any gut issues, to heal your gut, you should drink kombucha and you should eat sauerkraut and you should drink bone broth. But as you're saying, that can actually backfire if your gut lining is not.
So if we have things like histamine intolerance, or so your skin has rashes on it, your nose is running, your eyes are itchy. If we're living in mold, that could heighten it. If we have SIBO, we may be low on our DAO enzyme, which actually breaks down histamine. That could show up in bloating. That can show up in joint pain as well. Bone broth is actually simmered for a very long period of time. It increases histamine. Fermented foods, all of the same thing. Plus, they're very high in probiotics. So if we have SIBO, underlying gut dysfunction, histamine issues, that could actually trigger more overflow that histamine bucket and make your body more reactive. A good example is I had a client come to me with mast cell activation on 6 to 7 Zyrtex a day, spent $11,000 going to allergists, and her whole body was red. Her friend wrote words on her because that's how red her body was. And she was doing the fermented foods, the kombucha, all those that you thought were healing, but she was getting worse and worse and worse. So we had to lower that bucket, heal and seal the gut, get that DO, everything working again. And not through any of those, we were able to heal her body and get her to be able to finally expand her diet and get off of that Zyrtec.
And do you work with hormone testing or do you do any tests with your clients? So, what do you wish more women understood more about hormone testing?
Oh my God, I'm so glad we're hitting on this. So when I ask clients, I'm like, okay, how are our hormones? Like, oh, my doctor did a blood test. Everything looks fine. Thyroid, everything looks fine. We're going to hit on the thyroid, then the hormones, because the thyroid's faster. But a lot of the doctors only test the TSH and the T4, not our active T3, not reverse T3, that if we're living in chronic stress could be elevated, and that's the metabolite, not thyroid antibodies. So your TSH and your T4 can look absolutely fine, but your active form, or T3, could actually be very low. So 60% of women go undiagnosed with thyroid issues. Thyroid runs your metabolism. Also, think about hair loss, think about anxiety, depression. If you're constipated and you have slow gut motility, feel like even if you go, you're not completely eliminated. Your thyroid could be a use function of this. So I tell you, look at your test results for your thyroid and see if they tested your T3, reverse T3, and thyroid antibodies. Because if not, and you're dealing with all thyroid issue symptoms, this could be an underlying link to why you can't lose weight, you have anxiety, and you have gut issues. And this is something I make sure that we have tested in all my clients. If the doctor won't do it, I do it for them. Now
And
looking
how
at
do
our
you do
hormone,
it?
yeah. So I am a holistic nutritionist and an FDM practitioner. So I have the capability to actually send my clients to labs and I get all the lab work back to me. I could run everything from hormone testing, stool testing, Dutch testing, mold testing, thyroids, full blood panels because I no one would help me. So I went back to school so that I was be able to do it for me and for all of my clients so that they just come to me and I'm their one-stop shop to help them.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Gotta take our health under our control.
Yes, yes.
And then with the hormone testing is so many women tell me, "Okay, I got my blood work done." They said everything looks fine. So, blood hormone testing looks at your hormones in one moment at a time. The top tier hormone test that I run on my clients is a Dutch test, DUTCH. They use urine and saliva, check your cortisol throughout the entire day. It tells you our ratios of our estrogen to progesterone. So you may be doctors say, okay, you're low estrogen and put you on estrogen, but they don't know that they're not looking at the ratios. And we could be estrogen dominance causing stubborn belly fat, irritability. Your progesterone could be super low. That's going to be your calming hormone. So hello, mom feeling like she's going to snap on everyone all the time. Also, we have to look, it looks at, if your body is actually eliminating excess estrogen from your body as well, because that could be a detox thing. Looking back at our liver, it shows us your cortisol throughout the day if it's spiking at in the middle of the night. So it gives us so many answers versus just looking at that one moment at a time. This is your labs, this is your blood work, this is your hormones. I want to see everything from your methylation pathways. Are we eliminating excess estrogen? Do we have estrogen dominance? So I'm able, like a client of mine, she CEO, sold her business, went through a lot of stress, and then all of a sudden she's like, I'm starting to get bloated. I'm starting to have very low HRV. I'm not sleeping good. I feel like inflamed. I feel like I'm starting to gain weight. And I ran both of these on her. She had estrogen dominance, very depleted progesterone. We also did a GI map stool test, which showed us she had specific bacteria, opportunistic bacteria that ferment carbohydrates, hence the bloating that was going on. So I structured everything naturally, no HRT, and she's already down 5 pounds in a matter of a month, feeling better. Yeah, just because we got to the root cause.
And when do you think women should investigate deeper? Is this something you do only when you have the problem that you want to address, or is hormone testing something to be done on a more regular basis, or how do you approach this as a woman?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is we don't want to wait until we have all of the symptoms because by that time, I told you it added up metabolic chaos and we're not feeling right. You know your body. So if you don't feel good, you're dealing with fatigue. You're like, why am I having stubborn belly fat now? Why am I getting bloating by the end of the day? It could be migraines. Now I'm having thyroid issues. If you don't feel good and you're being dismissed by your doctors, that's when I would say definitely start looking at it because you know your body best. If you feel good, you have libido through the roof, energy through the roof, great sleep, great digestion, you're able to stay lean and it's easy, you're great. But a majority of the population and a majority of people that are coming to me, we've pushed our bodies to the extremes. We've gone through a lot of trauma in our life. And we got into the place where it's like every woman that I speak with is those three major things: stubborn belly fat, low energy, now starting to get gut issues. And then when we dive a little bit deeper, they start telling me, oh, constipated. Oh, I had acne my whole life, cystic acne or yeast infections, or I have chronic anxiety and I'm on antidepressants. And then it's like, when you really think about it, ask yourself, what are all the symptoms that I'm feeling? And that's the key too, because if we're going for fat loss and we have all these symptoms going on, cutting your calories and doing extremes, it's not going to fix those symptoms. So it's like you may lose the weight fast doing an extreme, but how are you going to feel when you get there? But if we reverse that, and I love saying this with my clients, in order to get to the healthy body weight, which is different for everyone, strong, vitality, energy, libido, you need the healthy body. So we got to root cause, address all of these. And then when we're getting our gut better, we're getting our energy back, we're balancing our hormones, the body feels safe and the body starts responding. And I have people lose 5 to 40 pounds in just 3 months eating more food with all these health wins. That's when it's going to be sustainable.
Because the body feels safer and the nervous system actually is regulated.
Healed.
And I talk a lot about this, like, what state are you eating in? Are you eating your food in a stressed state? It will not matter what kind of food you're eating. It could be a burger from McDonald's or it could be 4 carrots and an egg, but your body will kind of respond in the same way if you're just stressed. And it is really important with regulating the nervous system. And I know you work a lot with acupuncture yourself. And is that something you also always recommend your clients, or is it more a personal favorite?
So it's very different for people. I like to find what works with my client's lifestyle because for a lot of women, doing something like sitting there and journaling and meditation when they have a busy life and 5 kids and they're traveling, it seems like an added overwhelm for them. And I don't want to create anything from stress. So a few of my things that I love using with my clients are simple things like 4-6 breathing or box breathing, especially around meals. Yeah, it's amazing because you could do it anywhere. You could even do it on a plane. No one's gonna know you're doing it. You don't have
I
to
do
write
it.
anything.
I
You
do it
put
all
your
the
Yeah,
time.
I do it like 4 times a day. I'm driving home from the gym. I'm doing it in the morning 'cause I got a busy day. Like, calm the nervous system. I love also celebrating my daily wins because as women, we get to this place where we get this mindset of, I failed. I did something wrong. I'm never going to lose weight. I hate all these things about my body. Just, it could be health, whatever it is. But we developed, because I have women in their 50s, 60s, up in their 80s, years of this negative talk. And it created a habit in our head of, I'm never going to get anywhere. I failed with every practitioner. Why am I going to heal now? But when we focus on just telling ourselves our daily wins, we start shifting that brain and to look at what I'm achieving versus just looking at the number on the scale and past failed experiences. And they're not even failures. They brought you to this place where we have an opportunity of growth to get our health back. And I've done everything from neurofeedback. I have clients that, I recommend for EMDR because they have a little bit more trauma of a background going on. A lot of my gut clients have a lot of trauma. We've had amazing things with EMDR. And then I personally have fell in love with acupuncture because I never thought I would be able to lay on a table with like 30 needles in me and like be so calm and chill and love something so much. But I will skip getting my nails done and, to save money to get my 2 acupuncture sessions in a week because it literally carries on to the next few days. My nervous system feels so chill. It's helped me tremendously with my gut brain connection. All of it. And I mean, when I was so sensitive down to just 3 or 4 foods, I couldn't even tolerate supplements. And that has helped me, like, going through my gallbladder and my spleen with the needles, just get things working properly and restore my gut motility on top of course, my diet and nutrition and other things as well.
Acupuncture for me has also been a big part of my recovery. Whenever I lost my cycle, I was doing weekly acupuncture sessions together with herbal medication. And I, as well as you, feel the effect days after the session. And you really get into such a deep state of relaxation. It's similar to a meditative state as
Yeah.
well. And after a few months, I got my cycle back, and it wasn't because I did anything extreme, but it was because my body came back to a baseline of safety, and that the stress in my life got reduced. I was still kind of doing everything else that I was doing before, like in terms of work, and workouts, but the acupuncture really helped with getting back to a regulated state. And what I've noticed for myself is when there are too many practices within your day, if you're going to do a breath work, if you're going to meditate, if you're doing some lymphatic drainage, like even if you're doing some lymphatic at home, like there are too many practices that get stacked. And as you mentioned, like giving your clients a journaling homework might not land well for them.
Yeah.
And I work in the same way. When people ask me like, oh, should I journal? It's like, do you want to journal? Like, is that something
Yeah.
that you really like? Do you feel like your mental, like the space in your brain clears up if you journal? Or do you feel like you're sitting there and like doing an actual homework that you do
Yeah, like
not
a chore.
enjoy? Yes, yes, and it's a burden, and we don't want to burden the nervous system. We want to find supportive tools, and acupuncture for me truly was that supporting tool. Um, and would you say for women who has been finding their own bodies for years, and who most of us has been doing, what is the first step to rebuild the trust with the body?
This is the hard one because there's so many ways. Do we want to go more fat loss, gut, hormones?
I think we want to go more fat loss, because I think this has been more of the core of the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I think there is also the core where people in our today life focus the most on,
Yeah.
especially women who have this like stubborn belly fat and gets insecurities around that. So what do
Yeah.
you think is the first step to start just rebuilding that trust, and not looking in the
Yeah.
mirror and being like, I hate my belly and I hate that
Yeah.
I'm not losing any fat?
Number one, get off of social media. And you can follow me, but get off of social media because there's so many trends out there, and it's very easy to, when you see it all the time, the GLP-1s, the fat loss supplements, the drink this anti-bloat, do this cleanse, it gets in your head. And then you're looking at all these people on social media and you're comparing yourself. You do not know what they're taking. You don't know if they're internally healthy. You do not know what they're eating. They could say one thing and look completely different. So get off of social media because the comparison is going to destroy you. And that was the first thing I did when I went on my health journey and overcame my eating disorder when I dropped to 90, is I said, I am only going to follow the people that inspire me, that don't make me feel like I'm questioning everything. The second thing is take the batteries out of the scale. That scale could impact your mind so bad. And as females, we're very hormone driven. If you are close to your cycle, the scale can go up. If you eat more sodium, if your bowel movements are less, all of those can impact the scale. If you train very hard and you're inflamed, that scale can go up. So there's so many things that could impact that. And if seeing that number on the scale impacts your mind, it's going to impact your body and make your body not feel safe. So that's another key element. And then coming to the nutrition element and the training element, you do not need to go to find a crazy diet or extreme or go dogma like what I did. We want to focus on something we can build consistently. So I would say structuring your food around 3 meals a day, making sure you're getting a good 4 to 6 ounces of protein at every meal, balanced with healthy carbs and fats. Because what that is going to do, a nutritionist told me this a long time ago, and I always remember it. If you have a bowl of fruit, just carbs, no protein, no fat, 30 minutes later, you're going to be hungry again. Now, if you put that in a smoothie, you add protein to it, you add some hemp seeds to it, you make it a complete meal, the fats are going to slow down digestion. The protein is going to work on that leptin and ghrelin. That's your natural Ozempic. And then you're getting the energy from the carbohydrates, from all the berries and everything. So you're going to feel full and satiated for 3 to 4 hours from that. Not cravings. Your energy's not going to go down. So instead of focusing on, I need to count macros and calories and all that, structure your meals, 3 balanced meals that you could be consistent with. And that's going to allow you to start seeing results. And then in terms of movement, again, find something you love to do to move your body. As females, we want to get that strength aspect in there, the resistance, because that's going to give us the bone, the tendons, the ligaments, the longevity. But if it's doing reformer Pilates and you love it, do it. If it's going to the gym, do it. If you don't want to go to the gym and you have things at home, I customize my clients' programs to them at home so that they can do it with their busy schedule. So find the form of movement that you love to do. And when you love it and you start creating the habit of these simple aspects, working on the mindset, getting the scale out, focusing on your balanced meals, and focusing on you, your body's going to start changing. And my favorite way to track that is through writing down my weekly wins. I'm sleeping better. I have less bloating. My pants are fitting looser. All of these wins, those are going to add up. I'm getting stronger. And if all of these health wins are happening, your body's going to start transforming at the same time. And that would just be like a baseline. But it really does start with the mental game of it. Because if the mental game doesn't match it, you're going to start second guessing everything you do when you see that girl pop up on social media with a cleanse or abs. Do I need to do her diet? What am I doing wrong? And that's going to keep setting you back because you're going to change everything before you even see a result.
So, consistency in your routines and actually believing that the
Confidence.
routine that you're starting will eventually pay off, right? And not going back and forth and like JoJo and trying different extremes.
Yeah, and if you don't believe in your plan, find someone that you believe in that could help you there because a lot of women, if they second guess and they're the overthinkers, sometimes you need a coach that you understand, that you believe in, that can get you there to take that stress off your plate.
Also to share the responsibility maybe and feel like, okay, this is
Yeah.
someone who truly believes in this and I can't take that away from that person. Like this is this person's work and this work is something that person do with multiple people, so it works. And who am I to second guess that because I don't see a result in 1 week? And of course you won't see a result in 1 week if you have lived in one way for months or years. It takes repetition to change, and especially for the nervous system to repeat to come back to safety. I'm curious what changed most in an emotional way for you once your body finally started feeling safe again.
So 2 times. So my first time is when I went from the 200 pounds and I got down to 90. Um, I had such an unhealthy relationship with food. I would eat 6,000 calories on the weekend and hide in my room and just gain a ton of weight. And then I would literally overexercise and starve myself throughout the entire week. So I spent 5 years committing to, and I don't bulk and cut my clients, but I spent 5 years committing to, I'm going to go into a slow caloric surplus. I built my calories up from 500 a day up to 6,000 over those 5 years. And I started strictly focusing on progressive overload. I said, I am not going to go into a caloric deficit until I can look in the mirror, no matter what weight I am, and I am confident and I love myself. And I was 5 years later, and I documented all this on my social media. And I was deadlifting 365 pounds. I was beast mode in the gym. I was up to 180 pounds on 6,000 calories a day. And I, I didn't care about the scale. I loved myself. And I said, you know what? This is, I'm not going to go back into my ED. I've done so much work on myself, all of it. And I went into a 9-month cut and lost 50 pounds sustainably, maintaining all my muscle and strength during that time. And that was like that one. And then the second one, when it comes to like my gut health and everything, it was just after spending years of just going to everyone. I spent $30,000 in doctors alone with no one being able to help me. I took it into my own hands. I said, you know what? you are you are labeling yourself as SIBO of mold toxicity, of I can't have these things. Your body is not going to be able because you're putting yourself as that bracket, but anybody can heal. I watched that movie from Joe Dispenza, Heal. It's on Netflix, I think. It's like $3.99. If not, buy it. It is amazing. And I put the trust in myself. I put the trust and I know what to do to heal my body. And I think that was a huge aspect is believing in myself, believing I can get there, and then sticking to it for those 90 days and giving myself the time to go through the ick of increasing foods and going through the probiotics and having reactions and reestablishing and knowing that, okay, in 90 days with everything you research and everywhere you got, you're going to come out the other end.
I'm also curious, and I know that people who are listening that feels exhausted and inflamed and frustrated or disconnected from their body right now, what do you think they want to hear right now?
You are not broken. Your body can heal. Like it 100% can. But if you keep spending all your money on the supplements, doing all these things on the internet and just second guessing yourself, it's not gonna. Know this that find one person that you believe in that can help you there. Because if you're in a place in your healing journey and you're so dysregulated, you need someone to help you get over that hump and give yourself time. You cannot transform your body after 50 years of just have feeling like CRAP, excuse my language, it does not happen overnight. So you need to give it time. Find someone that you believe in, that can create the plan that you believe in, and start tracking those small wins that I mentioned. Because when you focus on fat loss, it's not going to give you the health result. Focus on the health, the fat loss will come to it. But your body can 100% heal. If I can come off of 3 foods and all my overweight, underweight, and mast cell activation and mold and thyroid issues, then you could heal. And I have people come to me in a lot worse place living off of cottage cheese because their whole body swells up.
I couldn't agree more with you are not broken and you can heal. I've been truly, truly loving this conversation. I learned so much from you today, and I know people listening also will finish this episode feeling like they got smarter and also more confident in their own bodies. And I think it's so important to share your story like you do, like I do. You don't want to feel alone in this. And it
No.
is so okay to reach out for help or work with a coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super inspired from this
Oh.
conversation. I want to go and take a hormone test right now.
The Dutch
I
test, girl, top one.
Yes, I want to do a Dutch test right now and see where I am at. I feel pretty good in my body right now, but I like want to see it. I've never done it actually, and yeah, maybe I'm still
I do it every
um
year, and it's just
okay,
really
so once a
cool to
year.
see how
Mm,
everything's changed. You don't need to do it
mm,
every year. I just do because I had the mold toxicity and all the other things, so it's fun for me
mm,
to be able to just track my own progress since I could run them myself.
mm. And the mold toxicity, did you get that from like the environment you were in?
I was living in chronic mold exposure in Miami, but I actually believe that I grew up in it because I'm originally from Miami. And I had these health issues since a little girl. I had asthma, I had the eczema, all of it. So I think that I could have potentially had it as a little girl, but when I got back into that environment, the overload from that environment triggered it because for 11 years, I lived in LA and I didn't have any of those histamine issues or none of that, and the environment's completely different.
Thank you so much. It's been truly, truly a wonderful conversation. And to all the listeners who's here, this has been my first guest on the podcast, and I'm very honored of having Elizabeth being the first one. And as always, until I see you again, stay aligned, stay curious, and most important of all, stay true to yourself.